Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day. Failure is not fatal until we surrender. Trying again is the key of glorious victory by Allama Muhammad Iqbal. I'm Dr. Muneeb and today my topic of presentation is fertility related statistics under the kind supervision of Professor Dr. Saira. Learning outcome outlines the introduction of fertility, factor affecting the fertility, demographic measures, fertility related statistics on national level, and recent advances. At the end of this presentation, participant will be able to describe the fertility related stats and factor affecting it. Now, the introduction. Fertility is the quality of being able to produce children. As a measure, the fertility rate is the average number of children that a woman has in her lifetime is quantified demographically. Fertility is not only a female health issue, both men and women can experience infertility and both should take steps to improve their fertility. Factor affecting the fertility are the biological constraints, behavioral constraints, and demographical constraints. Fertility may be measured by number of indicators. Stillbirth, fetal death, and abortion are not included in the measurements of fertility in a population. Determinants of fertility stats and biological and behavioral factors are the approximate determinants of fertility, and they are the factors through which the social and economic environment can influence on an individual's procreation. Demographically observed fertility or infertility is the result of well-defined number of both biological and behavioral constants. These factors mediate the influence of culture, society, economic condition, living standard, and other determinants on individuals' reproductive behavior. Factors like age and healthy weight range, balanced nutrition, sexual behavior, environmental toxins, culture. These are the factors which constrain the fertility and explain why a woman do not have maximum possible number of children, which would be about 35 if she reproduce continuously from the age of 18 to 45, having a birth after every 9 months. Biological constraints on the fertility. The biological constraint on the number of live born children include time actually lost during pregnancy, the time lost after delivery before fecundity resume, postpartum infecundability, the waiting time to conception, the time lost because of naturally occurring intrauterine motility, and time lost because of sterility arising naturally with the age or induced by any pathological condition. On average, assuming the risk spread out over all women, in addition to the 9 months of pregnancy, postpartum infecundability adds about 1.5 months together. The biological constraint lower the maximum feasible fertility from 35 births to 15, which is called the total fecundity or the limit in physiological capability of childbearing. Chronic diseases, even if a disease is not directly related to reproductive system, it can still impact the fertility. Several chronic diseases along with the treatments can lead to fertility problem in a woman and men, including diabetes, hypothyroidism, infection of reproductive tract, hormonal imbalance or disease of reproductive system. Hormonal imbalance in both men and women can reduce fertility or even cause infertility. Periodontal diseases, untreated celiac disease, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian disease, and premature ovarian failure, also known as primary ovarian insufficiency. This can lead to the female infertility, and low testosterone level can lead to the male infertility. Now comes to the behavioral constraints on fertility. The behavioral constraints on the number of children born by a woman include extent of exposure to possibility of conception, the time spent married, as well as the extent of practice of breastfeeding, contraceptive methods, whether these are traditional or modern, induced abortion. Now, the factors which are affecting the fertility will be the direct, indirect, and some other social factor. Direct factor will be the oral pills, loops, and usage of condom and abortion or infanticides. The indirect social factor are the age of the marriage, polygamy, separation and divorce, widowhood, postpartum abstinence, celibacy, and frequency of coitus. And other social factor are food supply, economical condition, family system, uh, uh, desire to maintain status, and the religion. These are the factors which affects the fertility. Now, the demography of fertility. The level of fertility in the world varies broadly by country and culture, and social and economical condition, as well as by the individual's characteristics like age. Generally, more industrialized and economically developed societies have lower fertility than agriculture and less developed societies. And within a country, generally, more educated groups with higher income have low fertility than less educated groups with lower income. In this picture, in the you can see that number of children by the level of education of mother in countries where women have an average of 5 or more children. In this picture, you can see if a woman have a higher education, the number of children will be per woman between 2 to 3. And as we move from higher to secondary, primary, or no education, the number of children increases from 4, 5 to 6. The average number of children's per woman, if it's 5, then the education will of the woman of that population will be between the secondary to primary. Now, demographic measure. Demographers measure the fertility rate in a variety of ways, which can be broken down into period measures and cohort measure. Period measure refers to cross section of a population in 1 year. And cohort data, on the other hand, follows the same people over a period of decades. Both are widely used. Period measures, crude birth rate, the number of live births in a given year per thousand people alive at the middle of that year. One disadvantage of this indicator is that it is influenced by the age structure of population, and birth rate, number of live births during the year divided by estimated mid-year population multiplied by 1,000. The birth rate is also an unsatisfactory measure of fertility because the total population is not exposed to childbearing age. General fertility rate. The number of births in a year divided by number of women aged between 15 to 49, uh, time multiplied by 1,000, and it focus on potential mothers only and take the age distribution into account. General fertility rate is the number of live birth divided by mid-year female population between the age of 15 to 49 or 44 in the same area in a year, multiplied by 1,000. Child woman ratio, the ratio of number of children under 5 to the number of women between the age of 15 to 49 multiplied by 1,000. It is especially useful in historical data as it does not require counting births. This measure is actually a hybrid because it also involves the deaths as well as the births. This is because of infant mortality. Some of the births are not included, and because of the adult mortality, some of the women who gave birth are not counted either. Total fertility rate. The total number of children a woman would bear during her lifetime if she were to experience prevailing age specific fertility rate of women. Age specificity is the age between 15 to 49 years of age. Total fertility rate equal to sum of all age groups of 5 times each age specific fertility rate. Gross reproduction rate is the number of girls babies, a synthetic ward will have it is assumed that all the baby girl will grow up and live to at least age of 50. Gross reproduction rate, you can see this is the formula sigma of a female a specific fertility rate ratio 3 is equal to age interval, and each woman will almost produce 3 daughters by the end of her reproductive life, given that she survived at the age of 50 and the female age specific fertility rate remains constant. So each woman will have 3 daughters if age woman survive to 50 age of 50 and female age specific fertility rate remains constant. Net reproduction rate. Net reproduction rate starts with the gross reproduction rate and adds the realistic assumption that some of the women will die before the age of 49. So therefore, they will not be alive to bear some of the potential babies that were counted in the gross reproduction rate. So net reproduction rate will always be lower than the gross reproduction rate. Net reproduction rate, uh, the every number of daughters a woman would bear in her life if she experienced the age specific fertility rate for daughters prevailing at the study period, and if her daughter experienced the prevailing rate of mortality. If the age schedules of both fertility and mortality remain constant, the net reproduction rate will be the measure of generational replacement. Sorry. For example, the net reproduction rate, if it is equal to 1.1, next generation will be 10% larger than the present generation, which will be growth of the population. And if the net reproduction rate is 1.0, the next generation will be the same as that of the present generation. That will be a replacement level. And if the net reproduction rate is equal to zero point 0.9, the next generation will be 10 times smaller than the present generation, and that will be the depopulation. Now, the global stats, the global average fertility rate is just below 2.5 children per woman today. Over the last 50 years, the global fertility rate has halved. And over the course of modernization of society, the number of children per woman decreases very substantially. In pre-modern era, fertility rate of 4.5 to 7 children per woman were common. At that time, the very high fertility at the young age, with the high mortality at a young age, kept the population growth low. Now, in the 2020, the world population is projected to reach 9.9 billion by the year of 2050, an increase of more than 25% from 2020. The global total fertility rate is 2.3 births per woman, while the replacement level is 2.1 births per woman. With a fertility rate of almost 7 children per woman, Niger is the country with the highest fertility rate in the world, followed by Mali. And total population of Niger is growing at a fast pace. In 2021, the fertility rate of Taiwan was estimated 1.07 children per woman, making it lowest fertility rate worldwide. The fertility rate is every number of children born per woman of childbearing age in a country. So in this picture, you can see from 1950 to 2020, the in the 1950 the average number of children per woman was 5, and as it has decreased to 2020, the average number of children has decreased to 2 to 3 children per woman in 2020. So in this picture, you can see how long did it take for fertility to fall from more than 6 children per woman to fewer than 3 children per woman. So these are the year in you can see UK took 95 years to decrease their fertility from 6 to 3 children per woman. Again, USA took 82 years, Brazil took 26 years, China took 11 years, and Iran took 10 years to decrease their fertility rate of 6 children per woman to decrease to 3 children per woman. Replacement rate. Fertility rate, every number of children born to a woman during their reproductive year. For the population in a given area to remain stable, an overall total fertility rate of 2.1 is needed, assuming no immigration or emigration occurs. If on average women give birth to 2.1 children and their children survive up to the age of 15, any given woman will have replaced herself with her partner upon death. The total fertility rate of 2.1 is also known as replacement rate. Dependency ratio. The dependency ratio is a measure of number of dependents aged from 0 to 14 and over the age of 65. So compared with the total population of age 15 to 64, this demographic indicator gives insight into the number of people of non-working age compared with the number of those which are the working age. Crude death rate in Pakistan in 2020. Crude death rate of Pakistan was 6.84 deaths per thousand population. Over the last 50 decades, crude death rate of Pakistan was declining at a moderating rate to shrink from 14.92 deaths per thousand population in 1971 to 6.84 deaths per thousand population in 2020. General fertility rate in Pakistan. All live births registered in a year to the total number of women between the age of 15 to 49, and the current fertility rate for Pakistan in 2022 is 3.30 births per woman, a 1.87 decline from 2021 from the last year, and the fertility rate of Pakistan in 2021 was 3.36 births per woman, which was a decline of 1.8% from 2020. And the same trend was seen between the year of 2019 to 2020. A 1.81% decline was seen, and um, 3.42 births per woman was the fertility rate in 2019. Child woman ratio. The child woman ratio of a population is defined as number of children under the age of 5 per thousand women aged between 15 to 49 in a population in a given area. This crude fertility measure based on basic census data and is sometimes used when no more specific fertility rate information is available. In 2020, fertility rate of Pakistan was 3.4 births per woman, and fertility rate of Pakistan fell gradually from 6.6 births per woman in 1971 to 3.30 births in 2022. Gross reproduction rate in Pakistan. Net reproduction rate for Pakistan was 1.454. Reproduction rate of Pakistan fell gradually from 2.38 in 1975 to 1.54 in 2020. Now it's time for the recent advances. In this picture, you can see the fertility rate, jaw-dropping global crash in children being born. The world is ill prepared for the global crash in children being born, which is said to have jaw-dropping impact on society, say some researcher. Falling fertility rate mean nearly every country will have shrinking population by the end of century. 23 nations, including Spain, Japan, are expected to see their population half by 2100, and countries will also age dramatically with as many people turning 80 as they are being born. So countries which was being affected by this phenomena was the Japan's population is projected to fall from a peak of 128 million in 2017 to less than 53 million by the end of this century, and Italy is expected to see an equally dramatic population crash from 61 million to 28 million over the same time frame. There are two of the 23 countries which also include Spain, Portugal, Thailand, and South Korea, expected to see their population more than half at the end of the century. China, currently the most populous nation in the world, is expected to peak at 1.4 billion in 4 years' time before nearly halving to 732 million by the end of 2020, 2000. 2100 by 2100, and India will take its place. The UK is predicted to peak at 75 million in 2063 and fall to 71 million by 2100. Uh, this is an article which is about the child marriage. Child marriage before 16 year is prevalent, 18 year is prevalent in Pakistan, which disproportionately affect young girls in rural, low income and low education household. Child marriage was significantly associated with low social equity indicator, which is poverty, rural residence, and no formal education. Adjusted logistic regression models showed that the girl child marriage was significantly associated with high fertility, repeat childbirth, rapid and unwanted pregnancy or pregnancy termination. Child marriage affects about half of all the average of all ever married women age of 20 to 24 years in Pakistan, and increase their risk for high fertility and poor fertility health indicators, highlighting the need of increasing the age of marriage among the women in Pakistan. Efforts to eliminate the child girl marriage by strict law enforcement promoting civil, sexual, and reproductive health rights for a woman can help to eliminate the girl child marriage in Pakistan. This is an article published in 2020. A population joint falling behind in its demographic transition. Pakistan's last census in 2017 counted about 208 million inhabitants, which translates into annual population growth rate of 2.4% since the last census, which was 1998. This pace of growth is lower than that of the previous ancestral period, but much higher than the anticipated. Pakistan's population will double in 29 years, whereas the average doubling time for other South Asian countries is about 58 years. To address this alarming population growth rate, the government of Pakistan established several federal and provincial task forces in 2018 and has released a set of 8 recommendations to address the population issue. They range from enacting laws in restraining early child marriage to decentralized reproductive and family planning services to local government that would in turn benefit from increased funding. Now it's time for the MCQs. Number one, most of the developing countries has enormously increasing population rate by increase in number of live birth. Total fertility rate for countries can be said as is number of births per 1000 women, number of children born to women between the age of 15 to 49, number of children per woman, approximate completed family size, number of total children born per total population, and number of births before 35 years of age by all women. Anyone? So the answer is B. Number of children born to women between the age of 15 to 49 years of age. Question number 2. Level of fertility in the world varies broadly by country and culture. The rate of natural increase in human population is the result of two demographic variables that can be calculated by crude birth rate plus crude death rate plus crude mortality rate, crude birth rate minus crude death rate, crude birth rate plus crude mortality rate, and total fertility rate plus crude birth rate.
C.
No, the answer is alpha, crude birth rate plus crude death rate. That will actually show the natural increase in human population. Question number 3. Mr. Khan is a teacher by profession in a government hospital school. He is the only earning hand for the family, has 4 children. One of them is 20 of age. All of them are dependent on one man, their father. Dependency ratio is the ratio of young to old population on young people. Number 3 is young and old on working population, age more than 60 and less than 18 dependent, and age more than 55 and less than 20 are dependent. What could be the option? The answer is C. Young and old peoples. Young will be 0 to 14 and old will be more than 65 years of age people on the working population. This is the dependency ratio. Question number 4. The net reproduction rate start with the gross reproduction rate and adds the realistic assumption that some of the women will die before the age of 49. The only difference between these two is A is gross reproduction rate is more than net reproduction rate. B is net reproduction rate is more than gross reproduction rate. C is gross reproduction rate is equal to net reproduction rate. D is gross reproduction is double of net reproduction rate. And E is net reproduction rate is exact half of gross reproduction rate.
A.
Yes, A is the right answer. The gross reproduction rate will always be more than the net reproduction rate. Number 5, Mrs. Ali is a 33-year-old lady married for 4 years. She conceived about 2.5 years after her marriage, and now she has a son. Keeping in view the consideration that she has not practiced any contraceptive method at all, the factors that affected her fertility are behavioral constraints, biological constraints, demographic constraints, and environmental constraints.
B. Biological constraints.
Yes, B is the right answer. Biological constraint affects their fertility. Question number 6. The global average fertility rate is just below 2.5 children per woman today. Ratio of all live births registered during a year to the number of women of childbearing age is A is crude birth rate, B is standardized birth rate, C is net reproduction rate, D is the general fertility
D.
rate. Yes,
D.
D is the right answer, the general fertility rate. Question number 7. Demography is statistical study of human population and changes. Fertility uh, is one of the main component of its variable. The other two variables that contribute to the population changes are A is mortality and child immunization, B is mortality and migration, C is immigration and childbirth, D is migration and infant death, and E is morbidity and migration.
Hmm. Beta.
Yes, beta is the right answer. Mortality and migration are the other two, and the third one is the fertility. Question number 8. The crude birth rate is an unsatisfactory measure of fertility because the total population in an is not exposed to childbearing. If in a developing country, uh, 3,250 births happen in a country with a population of 2,23,000 in a year of 2000, the birth rate for this country should be there should be the mathematical calculation. Number A is 12.57, B is 13.57, C is 14.57, D is 16.5, and E is 19.5. The answer would be the C. Uh, Here you can see crude birth rate is equal to B multiplied by 1,000. So the live births was 3,250 and total population was 2,23,000 multiplied by 1,000. The answer will be 14.57. Question number 9. According to fertility statistic, world population will double itself in 58 years, while Pakistan, according to these stats, seems to double its population in how many years? Number A is 17 year, B is 29 years, C is 36 year, D is 43 year, and E is 37 years.
C.
E.
B is the right answer. 29 after 29-year population of Pakistan will get doubled. Question number 10. A town in Japan has 100 women and all the daughter of these women are between the childbearing age. This age-specific fertility rate comes under which of the following demographic variable? A is age-specific reproduction rate, B is general fertility rate, C is gross reproduction rate, D is crude birth rate, and E is crude death rate.
Alpha.
It is actually C, gross reproduction rate. Yes, if there will be the discussion of daughters per woman, then it will come in the gross reproduction rate. This is the key, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muneeb, and very nice and informative presentation. And the best part is that you have given the importance to the MCQs to check the concept that has been presented in your slides. And very good part of it is that your presentation covers all the important aspects that were presented and checked in MCQs. Thank you very much. See you all very soon. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, madam.